Welcome to the Sharpe Way show. Yes, it is. It is about 7:30 p.m. on the East Coast. Yes, a little bit later. I know I've been late recently. I've been doing a lot of work during the day, trying to get some stuff happening, and it has been very difficult and challenging, as you could imagine. But I wanted to come back on this evening and talk about something that happened recently. The other day, I was chatting about what had happened with Brianna Joy Gray and discussing the issues of their wokeness side. And here I wanted to kind of go in a different piece, right? There is a clip up now of Joe Rogan and Dave Smith. I'm talking about a few things that are kind of libertarian, as whenever Dave Smith talks, he's almost always talking about that. So I thought it was interesting because for those of you who know Dave Smith relatively well, he's very good at explaining what happens and explaining the ideas and theories behind it. What I do relatively well is I come up with policy issues that will actually solve the problem. Some of you may have seen us together on the PBD podcast several months ago. Spike Cohen joined us on that one also. Jessica Vaughn joined us on that. And very often they would talk about the issues, and then I would pop up and say, well, here is the policy on how we repair or fix that. And I kind of wanted to cover some of that today. Often people don't realize that there are actually libertarian policies that will work that can repair some of these things. And if you care about that, you should either be able to tell them, say them to others, or fight them. If you think I'm crazy or wrong, you would be wrong, but that's okay. Again, if you notice it's going to be awesome, and it will be, like, comment, share, it does matter. And more importantly, if you are literally watching this on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, what is wrong with you? Subscribe. What are you doing? If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Otherwise, what are you, nuts? Do it. Subscribe now. Don't waste your time. Do it. Otherwise, please hit the like button or the comment or the share, something. All of it does matter. And if you know I'm going to bug you because I do it every single time, support our sponsors, the world's smallest political quiz. It is by theadvocates.org. If you want to go check them out, click that link, brings you right there. Share that link so that other people will see it. It does matter. It is important because this quiz is going to get people to have the conversations you want them to have so you can have the right talks and give them the right answers to hopefully draw them more into what I would hope to be a more liberty mindset. That would be my goal. This is a great way of doing it. Please support them by putting this link in other chats, putting it on Twitter, supporting it, sharing it. It is going to be very helpful. So I hope that you would do that. Let me, if I could, then show you a little bit of that, if I could. I'm going to share the screen so you can see it. You can see what we are talking about here. This is a chunk from Joe Rogan talking with Dave Smith.
The system is broken.
System's
Everyone
broken.
sort of agrees that. And the only way to do it right would be to create a more ethical, moral, logical system that's actually based on constitutional rights and how the government is supposed to be.
Now, this is a point that most people talk about, right? They talk about the idea of we had to make a new system, right? And this is challenging. This is not an easy thing to achieve, right? Lots of people want to make this, new system. It's not as easy as one might think, right? So, but this is what he's talking about.
In terms of like the kind of power they're supposed to have versus what they're always constantly trying to acquire. But if you did that, how much would you have to blow the system up? And how would we run things?
And this is when libertarians often joke and go, but what about the roads? Who will build the roads? What they're actually saying is, but wait a minute. If we begin to change this stuff, is there going to be a significant amount of disruption that will make us all feel terrible? And that's the fear, which is why we have to have a way so that we can have the minimum amount of disruption so that people can still function while we're making the change.
Like what period of vulnerability would we have while we're trying to reestablish a new system? And how would we know if this system could even work correctly without being influenced by money and power and all the shit that's fucked it up?
Right. Now, he brings up two very important points. Number one, he says, how do we know that it's not influenced by money and power? That's impossible. I wish we could have a system that was not influenced by money and power. That would be awesome. If I had a magic wand, I would make it happen. Sadly, I don't have that magic wand and no one else does. So it will be influenced. The question is how much, right? You cannot end corruption. I wish we could. Humans are humans. People will do bad things. What we can do is make the least amount of it. And the more of a system we have to where two things are true: less monopoly, oligarchy, and less big chunks of money being controlled by, specific individuals, the less corruption you will have. Larry, how do you know that? You know it by many ways. The most corrupt countries have most of their wealthy people living near the capital. I'm not joking. That's an actual thing. So if the capital is Moscow, do all the rich people live near Moscow? They do, because it's corrupt. How about DC? More and more of them are. Before, many rich people would not live in DC. They'd live in New York or Seattle or LA or whatever, Miami. They wouldn't be living near DC. It wouldn't matter because there were less things being controlled by DC, which means less corruption. Again, still corruption. So that's step one. Step two, if you have less Goliaths and more Davids and each one controlling their own money. So for example, if I have more money staying locally, for example, if I have to go to, in the case of New York State, if I have to go to Albany and get one or two thugs to grease the palms of a couple of guys or gals who are up there, and I get, $7 billion, that's totally worth it. But what if I have to go to 62 different counties? I got to now hire 62 or double that, 124 goons to go to each of these counties to grease the palms of, 2 or 3 more people in each one of those counties. And now each hit, if I even get it, is only a couple million. I'm not going to do it, right? Less people will do it. I will reduce corruption. So I think that's the piece I want to bring up here.
For what we've got right now.
It's a daunting challenge.
He's
think
right.
that, like what Ron Paul used to always say was basically, I mean, these are my words, not his, but it was basically his plan was he goes, end all the worst shit first.
Yeah.
Like end all the most evil shit first. So the first thing is like, stop bombing third world countries,
Right.
stop locking people in jail for victimless crimes, stop bailing out billionaires and corporations and stuff. Like, stop that first.
Now, this sounds amazing, and I love the concept, but there's a problem. Why are we doing all of the most terrible, horrible stuff, right? Why are we as a nation supporting and doing that? Because there are literally millions of Americans whose livelihoods and jobs rely on it. And it sounds horrible, but the military-industrial complex and the prison-industrial complex, there are millions of Americans who their livelihood is based upon this. The idea that we could just stop it, again, I wish I had a magic wand. I wish we could. Not realistic, right? We have to systematically bring that back. Now, can we? Yes. The first thing you do is one thing. You stop all the hot wars. That part's true. But you can't just stop the hot wars. Why? Why does the military-industrial complex care about the hot wars? Why do they want to do it? You don't want to think of it as evil, right? And the problem is we often do think of it as evil because it kind of is, and I get that, but you don't want to think of it as evil. If you think of it as evil, all you want to do is punish the corporations. And sadly, in today's world, well, in any world, the world we live in, governments don't punish the wicked and reward the righteous. It's just not what governments do. I wish they did. That'd be amazing. What I'm saying, though, is I want to look at these corporations as these complexes, military-industrial and prison-industrial complexes, as just being apathetic and not caring. If I look at them as apathetic and not caring, which is what they are, they just don't care, I have to give them other ways of making money. The reason why they care about the bombs and the wars is not because they want to kill people. They don't care. They want to sell hardware and make lots of money. That's the issue. They want to sell hardware and get paid. I get it. Okay, that's where you want to be. I have to give you another way of doing that. How do I do that? By opening up all of the other countries that we have embargoed, opening up Iran, opening up Cuba, opening up North Korea, and saying, hey, you want to sell to these places? Go ahead and sell. And oh, you guys in the military-industrial complex, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you X number of years, 1 year, 2 years, special treatment in opening up these companies, these countries, start selling stuff in there instead. Do that instead, right? So you don't have to sell bombs, sell trucks, or whatever is a thing. Do you think these guys actually care what they sell? They don't. What they care is they sell stuff at a high profit margin and make money from governments. That's what they care about. Well, these governments want to buy stuff too. Sell it to all these people too. Still will work. It'll begin. It'll break them off. You go, but Larry, just end all the things. All right. For those who don't know, all of the bases throughout the world, all of them have one or two types of agreements. Either they have a treaty that we've signed, or we have what's called a SOFA, which is a status of forces agreement. This is what allows us to have bases in 100, 200 countries, whatever it is now. 100 countries now, whatever, 80 countries, whatever it is. The number of countries we have the bases in, these are the agreements that allow us to do so. So now comb through all of them. Every single one of them has an out, whether it expires or we have to tell them no at a certain time, or we get out by doing X, Y, and Z. Go through each one of them, monitor the entire thing, and within 5 years, we can shut all the bases down that we don't need. And the only bases we would need at all would be some naval bases to make sure we can still get trade going around the world. That's about it. Otherwise, we can shut them all down, right? You could do that slowly over time. Why? Because then the countries know this. You might think, well, wait a minute. Like, we'll just pull out of Germany. Germany doesn't want us to leave. Japan doesn't want us to leave. If they wanted us to leave, they would tell us to leave. So for us to leave and just walk away, they would be very unhappy. So instead, we must give them the time and whatever agreement we made some sort of agreement with them, some treaty. We must now abide by that treaty and pull us out. There's always an out. There's always an out clause to every treaty, every agreement. Use the out clause and move out and give them time, because their people also rely on our bases to make money. There's a lot of money involved in the military-industrial complex. That's why it's called the military-industrial complex. Can it be taken down? Yes, it can. Absolutely can. But it will take time. That's how you pull it back, recognizing who is in charge, recognizing that government is always two things. It's a monopoly and it's a jobs program. And when you understand that government's a jobs program, you have to realize the Department of Defense is the number one employer, if you count all of the pieces of the defense industry, number one employer in the country. That's millions of people who their livelihood is here. You think they're going to vote you in and allow you to do? No. You think all that money is going to allow you to make this thing happen? No. Unless you give them an option. But Larry, I'm right, or you're right. Of course I'm right in making it happen. But can I make it happen? Recognizing the power that would be against you? No. Unless you give them alternative. If you accept they're apathetic and all they want is a reason and a way to make money, which is what they want and what they will do, by the way, regardless of my ideology, regardless of whether you're a communist or a capitalist or you're left, doesn't matter. They're going to make their money and use it against you to the best of their ability and probably crush you. I know I've been crushed before by money. That will happen. So give them a way to make it happen. That's the most important piece. Right? That's the most important piece. Steven says, but they're already invested in weapons manufacturing. Wouldn't they still prefer to sell weapons to Iran, Cuba, etc.? Of course they would. They would prefer to. But if I'm giving them an option, you can spend billions of dollars fighting me and maybe winning and maybe not, probably winning because they have more money than I do, right? If I became president or Congress or Senate or whatever, that's option one. Or you're going to get some time to retool, to shift and adjust. And maybe you will sell some weapons still to Iran or Cuba. You'll just sell older ones or whatever the case may be. But, do they want to sell weapons? No, they want to sell things that make money. And they'll sell whatever that thing is. So yes, would they prefer? Of course. But if they can retool, and they have already, right? We've had them retool in the past. And businesses will retool as long as there's profit. Your point's a valid one, Stephen. It isn't going to be easy. None of this is easy. To be clear, it will take time, money, and energy, and whoever is the executive will have to use the bully pulpit to make public opinion important and matter, so that when their smear campaigns come out, and they will, that the public opinion will not buy it, will not accept the smear campaigns, and then they'll make the shift. Because if they have to double, triple pay billions upon billions of dollars in smear campaigns or just retool, it's cheaper to retool. They'll just retool and raise their prices later. Again, note what I'm saying. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying they're apathetic. Put them in a system to where the money is cheaper to actually make things happen, then they'll make the thing happen. I hope that at least answers your question, Stephen. It's a valid point. It really is a valid point. So yes, hold on. Mike says treaties. You don't know your history. Remember the term smallpox or better yet forked tongue? Yes. However, right now we have to worry about that because we didn't care about the Native Americans at all. we do care about the Japanese and the Germans, though. So yes, those we do care about. So yeah, absolutely, I appreciate that. Let me go back and pop the second piece up, because the other part is the monopoly piece too, which I want to bring up.
You don't start with like, well, okay, if there's a vulnerable population that's like dependent on this government program, get rid of it tomorrow.
Right.
So like you try to do that, and then the more of the corruption that you roll back, you're going to see like less wealth being extracted from regular American people and going to special interests, kind of build that up over time.
This is a valid point too, right? You do want to pull back slowly. You don't want to attack vulnerable communities. If you noticed, I never talk about end Social Security and welfare. I never say those things, because that means my first step is attacking the people who are in trouble. Well, first off, it's wrong. I shouldn't do it. And the example I'll give you, and some of you will not like this, I know, because you're more hardcore libertarian than I am in certain cases. Imagine if you were a parent and you had allowed your child, in this case, say your son, in this case, because your son decides he doesn't have to go to work, he doesn't have to pay bills, he doesn't have to cook his own food, and you allow him to be reliant upon you until he's 30 years old. Now he's 35 years old. He's never had a job, never paid rent, never done his own anything, lays around playing video games all day. You buy him video games. Now you go, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm throwing you out. While that feels good, it's actually unfair. You have taught your son to be that way for 35 years. You got to help wean them off of this. That's your fault. You really shouldn't have done that to your kid. We have a similar issue when it comes to people who we've given them no other alternative except the government to be saved or to take services. So how do we break this? You understand the goal of a good libertarian policy isn't to abolish the government. It is to break the monopoly of government, to allow local people, nonprofits, local groups, charity groups, to be able to actively step up and support people who need help. That is also not easy and takes time. So the example I'll give several of them. One of them I talk about is the idea that in every single person in New York State, when you're going to write your check to pay your taxes every year, imagine if you can take $250 and not send it to the government, but instead give it to any nonprofit. If the nonprofit is in your county, it's doubled to $500. So now you can give $500 to a nonprofit. You might say, Larry, I don't care about $500. It's nothing. Yeah, but how about when 1,000 people give it? 10,000 people give it. Now that's big dollars going into nonprofits that is not physically government sponsored, but the people are deciding, and it's once a year. Now local people can start to pick up and do things that matter in your local community. Is that childcare? Is that a local hospital? Is that fixing potholes? What is the thing? It gives people the opportunity to try it. I believe that if we work this system, that more people will do better than government, which means people will then shift towards other than government. The communities will begin to grow again. They'll be able to support people. People need help. People need services. My argument has always been monopoly is not the answer, and government is not the best at doing it. Local people are better at doing it. So let local people do it. Assist them in doing that. What will happen? The government will have to compete in servicing the community against other community groups. The government will either get better or it will go away. Win-win. Now, that will not be overnight. That will be over the course of years. But we saw with the COVID lockdowns, there are many communities right now in America who they've forgotten the institutional knowledge required to service their own community. They've been reliant upon government for decades. Well, let's give them that back again. That's one. Second, something as simple as potholes. I'm not joking, potholes. Right now, government fixes your potholes, right? But you know who also wants to fix your potholes? Pizza delivery services. The Pizza Huts of the world, Domino's, let them. Give them the ability and say, hey, here's the rules. Go fix potholes. We don't mind. And here's what you can do. You can put your logo on every pothole you fix, or you can sponsor a road and put your name on that road and put a nice banner on that road and go ahead. People go, I don't want to see that banner. I don't care what you want to see. I would like fixed roads. Particularly, I would also like fixed roads in poorer communities and working class communities, because when their cars break down, it's devastating for them. And if you've been in that world, and I have been, that a car breakdown devastates you because you can't afford to fix your car because of potholes. So you don't like the way it looks? Too damn bad. We have to fix potholes. Get over it and stop being all self-righteous and let people have their potholes being fixed. Michael, but Larry, they'll only fix the rich people potholes, which of course is garbage, but I hear it all the time. Let's assume you're right. So the Domino's pizza assumes that only rich people eat pizza. I don't think that's true, but let's say you're right. And they only fix the rich people potholes. Okay, great. We still have government workers who fix potholes. They can then fix the potholes in the roads of the poorer neighborhoods. Either way, the poor and the middle class get better service, no extra taxes, have created another addition to government. It's not just government monopoly. So what happens if these private companies do such a great job in fixing potholes, we don't require the government to do it anymore? That will be awesome. Again, government gets better or it goes away. But Larry, those workers will be fired. No, they won't. The pizza places will still need people who know how to fix potholes. They'll just stop being on the government dole and they'll be on the McDonald's dole or the Pizza Hut dole, whatever. It will still happen over time. And this is the point that I think Dave is making. It's not overnight. It is over time. This is the point that I think Joe Rogan's making. How much disruption? If you notice, every policy I come up with, I worry about disruption. Why? As a business consultant, here's what I know. Most change in businesses fail. Over 70%, depending on what you look at, McKinsey or Boston Consulting Group, they will tell you this. Most fails. Why? Because as soon as leaders start making changes and they get pushed back and have problems, they fall back to their old ways. It's a very common thing. So what I'm saying is the less disruption, the better. More chance will make things happen. I hope that part was clear. It really is an important piece.
But it's a challenging thing to go from this insane system to something less insane.
Right.
Yep.
Is tough. And throughout human
is.
history, usually it's there's a pretty rough period.
Sure.
Between.
Yes.
It's usually
and I
not
don't
a
want
smooth
that
transition.
Well,
and I don't want that, right? Because my worry is once it becomes bad, it becomes violent. And once it becomes violent, it becomes invalid. And once it becomes invalid, people just don't want to do it, right? If you try to make good choice at the point of a gun, people will resist the good choice. They will think it's not theirs. It was Gandhi who said, people will always prefer the bad government of their own people to the good government of an alien power. Yeah. So I'm going to come in with my gun and tell you, I know what to do. I could be right. You're going to tell me no. But now we can talk it out and you can figure out for yourself what is right. You know what? You do it. So
kind of fascinating when
point.
you think that this is the only country that has been really established as like a colony that went on to take over the world. And it did it inside of 300 years.
Yes.
Which is pretty fucking wild.
Actually,
yeah, that's the most
less
wild
than
part is the time.
It did it in 200 years.
It's pretty crazy.
Because going from being a republic to an empire has happened before. But
Dave's right in republic to empire, but not really from colony really to empire. I can't think of any. I can't think of any that's happened. There were many Greek colonies, no Greek colonies that kind of went to empire. Many Egyptian colonies. I don't think any. Unless perhaps you count Alexander the Great making Greek Egypt, Ptolemaic Egypt, and then that becoming an empire. But that wasn't the world empire. Even if you that will be maybe a stretch. I'm sorry, I'm going down some geek history stuff here, but I can't think of any other. You could say that England at one point was a Roman colony, became an empire, but I think the Romans abandoned England before it became an empire. So, and it actually was invaded more by the Danes. So I think not that either. I think America is unique in that regard. Unique. And it took 200 years. World War II was what made us an empire.
We're the most powerful empire in world history, at least in terms of like raw power.
Right.
Like
I think
the
that's
technology, the level of wealth, all that shit. And we did it in a very short time.
And some of the most unexceptional people are the ones who want to run it.
Now, this is a valid point. The people who want to run our empire are often unexceptional. Why? Because why would you go through this? I know. I'm going through it now. Why would you want to go through all this garbage and be punished like there's no tomorrow? Yeah.
Which is
not the
so
right answer.
weird. When you see like the Squad, did you see that debate that she was having with those bankers where they were talking about eliminating fossil fuels?
She made me root for the bankers, Joe.
I was rooting for the bankers.
It is quite a feat
and
to get me to say, I think the head of Goldman Sachs is making a good point.
Imagine.
The point that we have here is if you want, and I'll go by the same idea, if you want to get rid of fossil fuels, and I'm not saying that's a bad goal. Fossil fuels, it'd be great if we get rid of fossil. I would agree. Let's get rid of it. I love the idea. But you don't want to do it by simply passing a law. That's not how it works, right? That's not the right answer. I'll go to the same thing I talked about earlier. If I want you to not use fossil fuels, then I have to give you a great voluntary option that you would pick instead. If I want you to buy an electric car, and I would love if everyone had electric cars, it'd be awesome. It'd be amazing if we all electric cars. I would love that. Great. But I don't want to pass a law saying you may not buy a gas car or you must buy because you got to fight. You see it all the time. Instead, embrace nuclear Gen 4 energy. Embrace nuclear energy. Gen 4, which is safe. Build a bunch of Gen 4 reactors all over the place to make cheap electricity. We're talking about water and power. Let me be very clear about something. And those of you who are environmentalists, you know this. Water and power are linked directly. If you have, in theory, this is theory, and then you see it in practice. If you have unlimited water, you have unlimited power. If you have unlimited power, you have unlimited water. That's how it works. So if you have a lot of power, you have a lot of clean water. That's how it works. Why? Desalination plants. Use nuclear power to create safer water. Use nuclear power to sell energy to other places, to pay for a lot of services here in New York State without raising taxes. Use nuclear power to allow people to cheaply cheaply fill their electric cars. Then you want to make people buy and spend time with all these new stations? No worries. If a gas station either converts over or has electric charging stations, give it a massive tax break for 5 years. How many of these guys are struggling to make money in these gas stations? Many of them are. I mean, unless you own many of them, obviously you're not. But if you're an individual owner of a franchise, you're struggling. Great. Do that. You'll do it voluntarily. You'll take the tax break. People will show up, cheap energy, and within 5 or 10 years, everybody will voluntarily be using electric cars. Now, some people will like their old gas-powered cars. Awesome. Good for them. Some people will. Some people will be stubborn and want to keep their gas cars. Great. But a whole lot less. You can't have perfection. A whole lot less people will voluntarily be driving gas cars because electric cars will be cooler, funner, safer. And as soon as that happens, they'll make cooler, better electric cars. That will happen. Passing a law is a terrible idea. We should not be doing that.
And that she was dangling the carrot of the $10,000 we gave back in student loan debt forgiveness, that those people are going to have bank accounts. And those people that got that free money.
Now it's about that,
free money out of your bank account. Like that was the immediate thing that she dangled, which lets you know some of the incentive involved in giving student loan debt. It's not really that we want to help these people.
Correct.
It's that now we will have influence over those people for voting.
Now, this part, he's so right. I hate it. He's so right. If you look at people who are actually trying to give back, the people actually trying to give back $10,000 of student loans, it isn't because they care about the students. If they did, they'd be changing the system so the students wouldn't be screwed in the next 5 years, right? They don't. They're just doing it to control you. They always control you with cash. The more money the government has, the more it controls you. So they're going to say, here's $10,000. Now you should vote for me. Sadly, it's working. Not that I don't think that some young people wouldn't vote for Democrats and anyway, I should vote for Democrats. And if you believe in what Democrats believe in, you should vote for them. I hope those of you who vote Democrat believe in what they believe in. I hope that's true. I would hope you wouldn't vote because they gave you $10,000. That would be the wrong reason to vote. However, I know people will vote for them because of that. But I hope if you do vote Democrat, it's because you believe in their policies. But his point's valid. It's going to be like, I got 10 grand. I like that idea. I absolutely agree.
Oh, this was clearly like just throwing a carrot like pre-midterm.
Right. It's only, how about 10,000? How about all of it?
Right.
If you're going to really absolve student loan debt, if someone's $700,000 in the hole or whatever, what's like worst case scenario? If someone goes to med school,
if they do all of that, probably 400 at least.
Yeah, and then it compounds with interest over the decade.
His point's a valid one, right? And this is the point that, I know many of you, if you're watching or listening, you many of you don't like socialism and don't like socialists. I get it. I understand that feeling, but I want you to give the person who believes in socialism or more left-leaning ideology, give them a break on a very important thing. And that is two things. If we have money to give 40 some odd or 50 some, whatever the number is now, $1 billion to Ukraine, why can't we forgive debt? This is a valid point, right? I mean, that's what they're going to tell you. They're going to look at you and go, hey, why are you mad at me wanting to get my debt paid? You don't mind when they give, 10, 20, 30, 40 billion dollars to Ukraine. Why can't you have my debt paid? They're not wrong. That makes sense, which is why, of course, as libertarians, we're against both of them. But the government is giving money away left and right. The government is bailing out big businesses left and right. It's true. They are doing it. They're printing money, trillions of dollars. They are. So they have a valid point. Then just pay off my debt then. If you're going to start writing checks, write me a check, is their thought process. And they have a point. And to Joe's point, if that's the case, pay it all off. Write a big check. Pay it all off then. Just do that. But they won't because, one, they don't believe it. And two, it's a bribe. It's not actually trying to help them. So that's why they won't.
It's like I was reading the story about this woman who took out $150,000 in student loans and she hasn't been able to pay them back. And now she's $250,000 in the hole.
Yeah, geez. And they're the most vicious type of loans too.
100%.
Like it's easier to get out of credit card debt. You can't even get out through bankruptcy. Yeah.
People
can't get out no
are
matter what.
having their Social Security docked. People who've made it to the end of life.
Yep.
They're relying on government assistance, right?
So think about this. You're on Social Security and the government is docking your Social Security to pay for your student loan debt. But all I ever hear about college is, well, it's the only way to make it. It's the only way to make it is through college. Well, if you're still paying your loans at 65 years old, I guess it didn't make it, did it? It didn't work for you, did it? No, it did not. So this is not the only answer at all. Let me tell you about this answer if I could. I showed you can fix the military-industrial complex. I explained that, how you can do that, right? Slowly but surely. I explained you can fix how you can fix some of the nonprofit issues locally. Let me now go to this next piece, which is school debt. Can you fix the school debt situation? You can. But what makes me angry about this, and for most people is just not that I'm against helping people. I think we should help people. You might go, Larry, you're a libertarian. How can you say that? Because the system was set up to screw people over in two ways. Way number one, the system is set up so that it basically feels like free money, and you're giving free money to 18, 19-year-olds. I mean, they don't know any better. Everyone's been telling them to do this for literally 12 years. They've been telling them this. Their parents think it's right. The parents still think the only way to success is a college degree. It isn't. There are other ways. And that no matter what, if you just get your debt, you'll come out and there'll be a great job at the end. That has been a lie for 20 years and is still a lie. But sadly, parents believe it. Everyone believes it. So we keep doing it. Try to find a guidance counselor today who won't say, get your kid in college. You can't. Most of that comes from, guess what? Money. Of course it does, because schools are given money, grants from the federal government, grants from the state, based upon their college placement percentage, not based upon happy kids. They don't care if the kids are happy. They care if they go to college. Or if they graduate college. Who cares? I'm not joking. The high schools don't care. Why would they? They get their cash by placing them there. If they get there and fail, whatevs, I got my cash. Change how it's funded, which I talk about all the time, right? But not just that. I got to do something about the debt itself. So first part is stopping people from wanting to do it. So if you change how college and change how high school is funded, high school should not be funded by grants from specialized grants from state and federal strings being attached. It should be a straight dollar amount per kid, per school. The money follows the kid, period. That's it. Money follows the kid. Doesn't matter if the high school is great or bad or whatever the case may be. I don't care. You know who's going to decide whether the high school is good or bad? The parents, by choosing what school they send their kids to. There's no need for the government to be the monopoly in deciding what's a good or a bad school. Irrelevant. The parents will decide. They will send the kid to the school they think is good. If you're a crappy school, because parents say you're crappy, which is the only thing, by the way, that matters. And repeat that. The only thing that matters is if parents are happy with the school. Everything else is irrelevant. I'm going to repeat that in case you think I'm crazy. I don't care about your test scores. I don't care about anything else. I care about, are parents satisfied with the education? If they're not, your school's not good enough. If they are, your school is. That's what we should be caring about. How do we decide that? The parents will vote with their feet. They will put their kids where they want their kids to be. We do that, changes all that stuff. Now guidance counselors only have to do one thing. Make sure the students are happy. Because if students are happy, they go home and tell mom and dad they're happy. School's making money. Done deal. Change how it's funded. I don't care if they go to college or not. That isn't the point. You should be deciding if you want to go to college. Your parents should be deciding, not the federal government, not the state government. You should be. And go if you want to go. That's piece one. Okay, now we have to go to college. How do we handle that? Wait a minute. We've got to get these loans for college. No, you don't. Not at all. 3 things have to happen. You've got to take care of the people who are in trouble right now. 2, you have to somehow deal with the people who already paid their way through and paid their loans and did all those things. Somehow in that regard. And then 3, fix the system for the future. Number 1, should you allow people to have debt relief? Yes, you should. You should have debt relief. So first thing is, you should take all people who have any college debt right now that comes from the federal government. The government should absorb half of it right away. Just half. Up 10,000 or half, whichever is more. Right? 10,000, absorb it. Done. Just like that. I know some of you get upset, but hear me out before I got a plan. Hear me out on this one. Absorb half or 10,000, whatever is the best, whatever's highest. Second piece, allow them, if necessary, to go bankrupt if they feel that's the right way of dealing with their debt. That's an individual piece. Allow them to do so if they think it's appropriate in their world. Right now, they may not. If you think bankruptcy is your answer, go bankrupt, discharge your debt if you think it's correct. Allow that to be true. Next, allow them all to renegotiate. Renegotiate all of your loans now as regular standardized loans. Renegotiate them. They're all new. Because if you can't pay them, you're going bankrupt. So allow renegotiation. That's piece number 1. Piece number 2, Larry, how are you going to give these guys this when I paid my way through or I did this, blah, blah, blah. No worries. Any colleges who took advantage of this, and most of them did, not all, but most of them did take advantage of these things, great. You have to pay back the people who aren't currently in debt. How do you do that? Everybody gets, I'm not joking, this is a lot, but I don't care. Everybody gets 1 year of free college. You say, wait, Larry, why would I get 1 year free college? I'm 60 years old. I'm not going to college. Awesome. It's transferable. Give it to your kid. Give it to your cousin. Give it to your sister. Enough people who already went to college. You got 3 or 4 years there. You got a free ride for people that you care about. They get something. Is it perfect? No. But it gives people something, an acknowledgement that says, you did the right thing. You paid off your debt, or you worked your way through, whatever it is. Here is something showing you some respect. We're giving them a bit. We're now giving you a bit. You get something. You can now go ahead and give it away. Someone else is going to get 4 years of college. Or if you want to, you can sell it. I guess you could. It's going to be worth more now to you than it was back then. So you can sell you a year if you wanted to. But the odds are you'd want to give it away transferable, give it to someone that you love, you care about, whatever. Oh, go back yourself. You decide, hey, I'm going back. I'm going to learn something. Take some college courses, whatever you like. You've earned it. Go do it. Now, how do you fix the actual system? Right now, if you were to go buy a car, you don't go to a bank to get a loan. You don't go to the government to get a loan. The car manufacturer has its own finance arm, right? If you go buy a Ford, you go to Ford Finance Company. You buy a Honda, you go to Honda Finance Company. All these colleges should fund all of their own loans. That's it. Most of them have massive endowments, which means they have cash they can loan and borrow against. Done deal. Now, instead, they can now fund their own. So you go to some college and say, hey, I want a loan. They go, great. You go to our institution. Why does that matter? Well, if they give you a crappy loan, if they give you a crappy education, and most colleges give you a garbage education, how do I know that? Because you see what I do for a living? If you've noticed behind me, my day job, I train executives. Do it all the time. Train them in leadership, management, business. I train entrepreneurs. All of them have gone to college. If college is doing this job, I don't have a job. But somehow I live in New York City. I pay my bills. I have a wife and 2 kids. My wife does not work. Somehow I pay my bills. Somehow I can take a year off and run for office without working. Somehow I'm getting paid. to train people who are already educated. So I know that college is not doing its job. Well, guess what? If college gives you a crappy education, you can't pay back the loan. They lose the money, which means they will have to give you a better education or help you with product placement or ensure that you actually graduate. That piece of paper they have to give you will have to have some value. If it doesn't, they will go under. It aligns your interests with them. They need to finance their own loans, but not just that. The degrees that don't have any much value, they won't charge you as much. Why? You can't pay it back. Those who are heavily valuable, they'll charge you more. Why? You're going to make a lot of money, you'll pay it back. It's all good. That fixes the system for the future, gives people who actually did something in return, shows them respect, and gives college, it gives actually debt relief to people right now in who are in trouble. That's an actual plan that could actually work. That people will go, yeah, I would take that. Some people don't like it, but people aren't going to fight policies like that. I bring up policies constantly because what people always talk about with libertarians, you guys live in pie in the sky. You don't understand stuff. You don't hear me say that ever. When you give me a problem, I give you an actual policy. You may disagree with me and tell me I'm wrong or whatever. Okay, but I'm not just talking pie in the sky. I'm actually talking about real policies that will limit the pain, limit disruption, not just knock down government, but break the monopoly of government to allow communities to support each other, to allow people to step up and do the right thing so that government either gets better or goes away. And we can fix this without violence, without heavy disruption. I hope that was valuable for you guys. I was trying to give you guys some good stuff. If you like what I'm saying, like, comment, and share. If you want to support the show so I can keep doing this, I'm going to go to your chat in a second. Do me a favor, click this link, go to the World's Smallest Political Quiz and take it. They are our sponsors, theadvocates.org. Why do I want you to do this? If you put this link into other Facebook groups on someone's Twitter account and they take it, they'll start thinking to themselves, am I really progressive? Am I really conservative? Am I more authoritarian? Am I libertarian? Am I moderate? What am I? And start having the right conversations and talking to each other. Talking to each other is the most important thing. And if you're the one who sends it, they might actually talk to you. And now you can have a real conversation about making things better, not just yelling, I hate Biden, I hate Trump, or whatever is the thing of the day. Yes. If you want to support me running across this state, LarrySharpe.com/donate. That supports me directly. That costs you money. Absolutely it does. The other one is free, right? Spreading the world's smallest political quiz. Free. Do it, please. If you want to spend some money, donate directly to me if you can. I'd love it. Every bit counts. I'm still trying to make things happen. But if you can't do that, no worries. Liking, commenting, and sharing, also free. You can do that. You say, Larry, I would love to give you some money. The problem is I want something for it. No worries. LarrySharpe.com/shop. Buy a cool shirt. I'm wearing one right now. Right. Buy a cool shirt. Buy a mug. Buy something that you want. Do I have a mug here? I think I have a mug around here somewhere. I didn't bring my mug. You can get a Larry Sharpe mug. All those types of things. You can do whatever you want. Go there. Now, when you go to the shop, it is expensive. Yes, it's expensive. Why? You're supporting the campaign, but you're getting something for it. So please head over there and shop if you want to. It is awesome if you could do so. I would appreciate it tremendously. Let me go ahead and grab some of these comments. I appreciate so many of the comments. Thomas says, write in Larry Sharpe. Yes, don't you guys forget, if you are in New York State, please, when it comes to November 8th, write in Larry Sharpe for governor. It's the way we're going to win. Absolutely. He says, I like PBD, but he should have let Larry talk more. Larry, Dave, Spike, and Jessica were great. I agree with you, Keith. You should always let me talk more. I agree. But no, it was good. Brian says, I actually like your solutions. Brian, thank you. I'm trying my best to show people that I'm in good faith trying to fix things, right? I'm in good faith trying to fix things. Absolutely. Ryan says, Dave Smith, Larry Sharpe 2024, both the principles and the policies, perfect compliments. I don't know if Dave is going to run or not. He hasn't said either way. I'm definitely not running for president in 2021. No way. Would I take a vice president slot? Maybe. I'm open to the idea of it. I'm not sure. This run right now is wrecking me, being forward with you. It has been an emotional just nightmare. It's been a financial nightmare. It has been very difficult. I'm not sure if I'm going to be ready in 2024 to run. But thank you, Ryan, for the thought process. I do appreciate it. Pete, there you are, brother. 30 trillion, 887 billion, 265 million, 175,000, $18.58 national debt. The libertarian solution is slowly but surely, first audit the Fed. Then, after you audit the Fed, begin to dismantle the Fed. I know people want to end the Fed. And again, Pete, this is the point. I know some of you be mad at saying end the Fed. I'm saying audit the Fed. Why am I saying audit the Fed? Because most Americans to this day don't know that the Fed is a private banking cartel. The average American does not know that. They think the Fed, well, it's the government. It's the Federal Reserve. It's the government. It's not. Clearly, Pete, you know that. I know that. The average American does not know that. I tell this story often. I'll tell it again. Some of you may know it. I was teaching a New York City agency here in New York City. Room is about 25 people, all educated. Youngest is maybe 30. Oldest is maybe 60. He's doing a break. I never bring up politics when I'm teaching. I'm teaching management skills and things like that. I never bring up politics unless they ask me. He's doing a break. And one guy says, man, I'm so glad the Fed was here in 2009. It saved us during the crash. He says that. I want to vomit, but I don't say anything. Keep my mouth shut. I'm getting paid. Let me keep my mouth shut. I don't say anything. And then they asked me, right, Larry? And I thought to myself, that was a mistake. So he asked me, so now I can respond. And I said, do you guys know that the Fed is basically a private banking cartel? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Yeah, it's not part of the government. It's a private banking cartel. No. I said, you have your phones. Google it. And they Google it and go, oh my God, he's right. Yeah, they didn't know. Not one of them. These are educated, credentialed adults who work for the city. Not one of them knew that. This is why we have to first audit so that people can just understand it and then begin to slowly begin to dismantle. Because if we just get rid of it, the disruption will be massive. The disruption will be so massive, the backlash will be worse. And they'll put into place something worse. So, yes, I hope that answers your question, though. Anyway, yeah. Reno says, do you have the percentages of where you stand currently as to be, I guess, asked to be written in? Yes. Right now, I am polling at about 6%. I average 5.5% as a general rule. The write-in campaign is so that I can get 130,000 votes. If I get 130,000 votes, that will allow me to have to be an official party in New York State so that next year we can create a coalition against the establishment. That is the goal, Rando. Stephanie, that is the goal. I don't know if you're Rando or Stephanie. I'll say Stephanie because looks like you're a Stephanie, but I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to insult you. So if you are Stephanie, that's what we want to do. We are still raising money to try to go to court one more time. If we win our appeal, I'll be on the ballot. If I get on the ballot, this becomes a winnable race. Why? Because I'll get into the debates. The debates, the League of Women Voters already told me they will let me in the debates. So I'll be able to get into debates if I'm on the ballot. I get on the ballot, again, as I always tell you, I never do something without an example of success. Everything I've talked about is an example of success. This one is Jesse Ventura. Jesse Ventura was polling at 8% in Minnesota in the 90s. He got in the debates, had an amazing debate showing, and then won in a three-way race. So if I get on the ballot, I get in debates, this is a winnable race. If those things don't happen, and I hope they do, obviously, then the goal is to get ballot access because there will be no real independent party in New York State next year. And some of you might be saying, but Larry, what about, the Republican? I'm going to be very full with all you Republicans out there who are listening. If you're in New York State, that is. I don't know about your state if you're outside New York State. In New York State, the Republican is not going to win. It is a lie. It has been a lie for years. It's not true that he's not going to win. It is 3-1, Democrats, Republican in the state. Republicans are leaving literally by the thousands every month. That's not an exaggeration. They are leaving by the thousands every month, going into Florida, Tennessee, Texas. The state's getting bluer. The most recent poll, he's behind by 17 points, and New York State's a disaster. And he's behind by 17 points. He's not going to win. In fact, the chances of him winning go up if I'm in, because I actually get Democrats to vote for me. So he might win maybe if I'm in, maybe, since it's a three-way race. He's capped. He's never going to get more than 35% of the vote, maybe 40% if he's lucky. That's it. Not going to happen. So I know some of you Republicans in New York State are like, no, he's going to win. If you are a New York State Republican and you believe the Republican's going to win, you have a mental disorder known as Stockholm Syndrome. It is not going to happen. It is a fantasy. The issue is either an outsider will win or Kathy Hochul wins. This is New York State. That's how it works. If you think something else, you don't know what state you live in. I know what state I live in. I travel this state every single year. I touch every single county every single year. I'm doing 7 this weekend. Please check my Facebook page. You can see it. All my events. Starting tomorrow, I'll be in 7 different counties this weekend. I'm traveling again. So I know this state very well. Republicans not going to win. I'll bet you whatever amount you want. Not going to happen. So yes. Hope that was clear. New York City makes a giant percentage of voting pool in New York. I think 63%. Yeah, no, that's not true. That is incorrect. Someone told you that. That's what people say. New York City, you never get more than 2 million votes. Something to remember for New York City. And this is a story that I'm glad you're bringing up, Stephanie. Most people in upstate New York believe this, and therefore they don't vote. And that's why we're getting hammered here, because most people upstate New York don't vote. They believe that what you just said. It is not true. Do your homework. Look around whenever you want. New York City never gets more than about 2 million votes at the highest. Right? Last time we voted, 6 million people voted. That's only 1/3 of the vote. Only 1/3. If 7 or 8 million vote, that's even less. Now we're talking 30%, 25% of the vote. So New York City is not that big of a chunk. Remember, 1/3 of New York City residents aren't born in the country. Another 1/3 aren't born in New York. So most people in New York City can't vote. So you only get about 2 million votes. If on a bad year, you get 4 to 5 million people voting in New York State, the good, you get 7 million. So I'm going to say 6 million vote as an average. It's only 1/3 of the vote. Then you remember it isn't only New York City that votes blue. Ithaca votes blue. Rochester votes blue. Syracuse votes blue. Albany votes blue. Buffalo votes blue. All the cities vote blue. That's the issue. So I hope that was clearer for you at least. So yeah. All right. Let's see here. Pete says we need Larry on Joe Rogan. I agree. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. I love that. All right. See if I can do this. See if I can do this here. Ryan says, I would love every state to go gold. States like New York will go gold before they go red. Why? Democrats don't want to vote for Republicans. Republicans do not want to vote for Democrats. They don't want to go for each other. They don't want to, right? But they'll both vote for Libertarians. How do I know that? Again, I have data on this. I ran before. I know what my data is. I've done polling. I know what my data is. About 25% of the people who support me are registered Democrats. About 40% are registered Republicans. About 35% are something else, either not registered in a party or registered other or some other party, registered Libertarian or new voters, something like that. So I know I get a cross section. Others don't. So yes. All righty. John says we need a Texas media tour for Larry, the Blaze, and Jerry. I know they all went to Texas, didn't they, John? I agree. Yes. Teresa says money is a good servant, but a bad master. Very true. Well done. I like that. That's very good. I love that. Very good. Yep. All righty. Chris says the road to hell is paved with printed money. How do we stop that? Well, that goes back to what Pete was talking about, right? We got to audit the Fed. Audit the Fed and then find a way to wean ourselves off. Otherwise, it will be a big problem. That's the issue. So yes, I hope that was clearer for you. So, all right. All right. John says, do countries like Iran or Cuba have the money to buy weapons from these mega war factories like Raytheon? Of course they do, right? They're governments. They of course they can. The issue becomes, how will they, if they go to places now like the IMF and places like that, then there are strings attached to the money they're going to be doing, right? But what if they instead, I'm not joking, just had credit with Raytheon and places like that? As horrible as that sounds, John's making me laugh. It sounds so horrible. Raytheon would actually be fairer because Raytheon's not going to care about an ESG score, right? They don't care. Can you pay the money back or not? We're good. They're not going to care about your ESG score. IMF and others, WEF, they care about ESG scores. Raytheon doesn't. So I would argue that Raytheon would actually be purer, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I think that would be a challenge, but it could be done. Look, these are companies that want to find ways of making money. They will find a way to make money, right? I think they will. They will find a way. Absolutely. So Nate says anything worth doing isn't easy. 100%. Yes, 100%. Yes. Avi says, I agree with most of what Dave had to say about American invasions of the Middle East exacerbating our problems. Yeah, I didn't bring that piece up much, Avi. I didn't think that was as valid for New York State. I didn't bring that piece up, but yeah, he did mention that too. Where I disagree is where he said, because we prop up Israel. We don't prop up Israel because they are a nation with civil liberties and free. We support them because they provide us military technology like Iron Dome, which we co-own with them so they don't give it to Russia and China. It's a business relationship. He seems to imply that if we didn't support them, bin Laden would not have hated us. I could see both sides of that argument. I don't think at all. I mean, the first point I think is completely true. I don't think we support Israel because we love them. I don't think America loves any government or anybody. I think you're right. There's always going to be some kind of arrangement. I think that's true, right? There's some kind of arrangement. In this case, either political or technological, cash. There's some kind of arrangement. I agree. I think bin Laden wouldn't have hated us as much. I think he still would have hated us. I think he was angry more because of Saudi Arabia and Kuwait than he was anything else. But yeah, I see your point. I see your point. So, all right. Logic says we would definitely see some return of balance in society and the economy. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes, absolutely. I do want to see that come back. It's never going to be perfect, right? It's got to be better, right? It's never going to be perfect. It's just got to be better. So yes. John says Syracuse equals pothole city. So let's find an answer, right? Scott goes on a potholes and speed bumps into premature wheel bearing failure. Yes, right. And if I'm wealthy, I don't care. I'm going to buy a new car every 3 years. I'm going to lease a new car every 2 or 3 years anyway. What do I care about whether my wheel bearings fail for that? That's going to be the dealer's going to deal with that. I'm leasing my car every 2 years. I don't care. But what about when I'm not so wealthy and I try to buy a car and keep it for many years? Or maybe I buy a used car because I'm good enough at repairing. I don't mind if I have a couple of problems with my car. I can fix it myself, do my oil changes. What if I'm one of those people that does that? That's awesome too. Lots of people feel that way. Well, this is going to crush them. This is going to crush. An axle gets trashed or your wheel bearing gets trashed. You're dropping hundreds of dollars. You're making 12, 13 bucks an hour and you got to drop 200 bucks to fix your car. That's life-changing for you, right? That's going to change your lifestyle. That's not life-changing. That's lifestyle changing for you, right? Absolutely. You're right. I agree. So, all right. Let's see here if I grab a couple more. Gene says the answer to the question, who will build the roads, is the same people who build them now. Gene, correct. Yes. Without the government middleman, though, the roads will cost less and the builders of the roads will be directly accountable to the people who use the roads. Gene, you brought it up perfectly, right? And we talked about this in a show earlier this week. What happens if they put in bad roads or mess something up or screw something up or do something wrong? Well, we just pay them to do it again. That's all. What if there was no government middleman? They screwed up. They got to fix it on their own dime or they get sued. Yes, think about that. What happens if the current road workers do a bad job? Just get paid again. Who cares? What if they do a bad job and they're private? There's no government involved. They either get sued or they got to fix it for free. Yes, correct. We talk about, government is going to be good because there's accountability. The reverse is true. There's no accountability with government. There's accountability with the private sector because you can sue them, force them to do things, make them pay a price. You can't do government. When government makes a mistake, it gets rewarded with more money every time. There's no accountability. It's monopoly that you can't sue. So why would you even bother? Yes. So Bill says, New York needs Larry. Larry needs New York. Right in Larry Sharpe. 100%. Yes. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Yes. Dave says, if Dave Smith runs, you need to be in his cabinet, Larry. I hope he wins. If he runs and he wins, look, I want a libertarian to win. If that's Dave Smith, fine. Again, he hasn't said he's running. Whatever. Fine. I still wish Gary Johnson was in his second term right now. That's where my head is. I'll take a libertarian. 100%. I'll take any libertarian. Absolutely. Would I want to be in someone's cabinet? 100% yes. 100% yes. I mean, Drew, if you win, I'll be in your cabinet. Yes, yes, and yes. Absolutely. Isaac says, if you don't win governor of New York, you need to run for president. You have some of the best solutions I've heard yet. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I do. But I'm not going to be running for president in 2024. Maybe 2028, 32, 36. I'm not putting any of the other things out. They're all maybes, not 24. That is just too big deal. too much of a big deal for me. It's a lot. Doing this, for those who don't know, is not easy at all. Literally, it's a massive wear and tear on my family, on my finances, on my own emotions. It is a very difficult thing to do. When I run seriously, and it's challenging. Yes. Andrew says, as a college student, I can say that colleges, minus the Christian ones, are becoming increasingly politically correct in speaking and acting. Yes, Andrew, you're 100% correct. More opinions are told instead of actual facts. It's a bunch of nonsense. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Paul says, Larry, it sounds like you took physics in high school and or college and got an A. Thank you for that. I actually took 2 science classes, I think. If you count, I think astronomy, and I took in college astronomy, and I took statistics. Is that's science? Maybe, I don't know. But no, not much science. I didn't take much science. Most of my, for those of you who know me at all, you know that I'm an autodidact. Most of my stuff I learned on my own, right? Just caring and learning and trying to figure things out on my own. Most of it is that. And most of the savviest people, an education is a starting point, not an ending point for them. If your education is an ending point for you, you're probably not going to go very far in life. But if your education was a starting point for you, then you can just go wherever you want to go. The world is your oyster at that point. So yes. Yeah. Tim says, Belgium is closing another nuclear plant. Their plans to close them all by 2025. Holy crap, is that dumb? But they're doing it. They're doing it. We're seeing the problems, but we don't stop. Wow. Terrible. Dustin says, the weapons market is very limited. They could retool and create products for a much broader market. This is possibly more profitable. Well, the issue is, Dustin, if they knew that a libertarian was coming into power, a libertarian had won the presidency and was coming to power, if we were smart, we would let them know, here are our policies, here is the future, let's work together so that you don't fight me, right? So that we could find the way they can still be profitable, still sell stuff, but not bomb and kill people. I would like them to sell things, make money, not fight me, and not kill people. I think we could do all of those things. And again, challenging, but as Nate said, if it's not difficult, it's not worth doing. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think it says volunteerism is the way. We don't need taxation. Many of my policies are that way. I talk about ways of raising money other than taxation. When I talk about this, I talk about government revenue versus government taxation, because I want a government to make revenue, but not to tax as much at all. In my perfect world, the government taxes almost nothing. That would be my perfect world. But we'll move to a point as close as we can get to that. As close as we could possibly get to that is what I would want. So yes. All right, let's see if I can do this here. Gene says, use nuclear power to fuel vehicles like we do with submarines. Yep. Thorium-based nuclear energy is much safer than the old nuclear fuel. The waste from it becomes rhodium. Yes. Thank you. 100%. 100%. Yes. I'm agreeing completely. Blue Collar POV says, China is utilizing modular battery packs in their EV cars along with swap stations. Oh, that's interesting. So you swap the batteries out. It automatically swaps the battery pack for a fresh one. The batteries are maintained at the station. That's actually brilliant. I like that. So you just pop a new battery in every time. The stations have battery. Well, it's a whole lot faster, right? You're swapping out batteries versus having to wait and charge your car. I like that. That's a good plan. See that? That's my point. If you start figuring stuff out, they'll just do it. Absolutely. Yes. So, all righty. Pete Clark says, can one hate all handouts? Yes. Yes. 100%. Yes. Frank says, yeah, the same people that want debt forgiven want to give everyone else money too. Also true. But again, my point being, if we are giving all this stuff out, they have a point. That's my only point, Frank, is that if we're going to say that, right, we can't give money to everybody. Well, you're giving it to these guys. Why don't you give me some? Is their point. That's all I'm saying is we should, to Pete's point, we should hate all the handouts and find better ways of supporting people. I want to be clear. People fall down. They make mistakes. They get unlucky. They're unfortunate. All these things happen where people have problems and require services and require help. That is going to happen from now to the end of time. That's how people are. That's what happens. And I want us as a society to be able to help people who fall down or made a mistake or got unlucky or whatever the case may be. I do. I just think government is the wrong way of doing that. I think if we support local communities, we can build it up. If you want to, for now, keep government as a, bottom, safety net so no one falls through the cracks. Okay, I'll buy that. Well, we can go there now and then build up to where it's not necessary anymore. And to maybe the only thing government's used for, imagine if you could, is just, just for the person who is catastrophically injured. Okay, maybe that's it, right? Maybe that's a better bet. I could try that. So I hope that's clear. Yes. All righty, if I can do this here. I grab. Wow, you guys give me a lot of these. All right. Long one, Dottie. Isabel Patterson answers that very question about giving money to other countries in The God of the Machine, 1943. Is that right? Since by the nature of the free economy, its products is in the market, it is imperative that the bills should be collected. When money, credit, and goods are handed to the static economies for nothing, whether as a gift or by allowing default, the result is certain: a world war on a commensurate scale. Wow. Well, there we go. Thank you for that, Dottie. I appreciate it. 1943, is that right? That seems so far. Wow, she knew that long ago. I love that. I love that. All right. Isaac says, convert gasoline fuel injected vehicles to hydrogen combustion and use IR aluminum pellets in water or electrolysis to create hydrogen gas. Okay, I'm sure. I'm in. Whatever. Oh, good. Yes. Chris says, you really think out of the box. I'm impressed. Thank you, Chris. I'm trying to actually repair things, right? The thing you remember is when I think about how to fix things, I'm always thinking, how do I give people services without raising taxes? How do I use the powerful people I have at hand and encourage them to do what I want them to do, right? I don't assume that the people who are in charge are evil. I assume they're apathetic. That's my assumption. So if I change the environment to where they can still do what they need to do, but do the right thing in my view, that's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to create a world where that happens, right? One other thing to talk about is how do we get wealthy corporations to support people who are homeless? We can. We allow them to create tiny homes, which are based upon specific populations, working moms, veterans, whatever the case may be. Single moms or veterans or whatever the population might be. Maybe certain addicts, maybe certain people who have certain, mental disabilities, whatever the case may be. You pick, right? They create that. They get to sponsor it. So they get to, be the sponsor. And with that in mind, they're able to collect 1/3 of whatever their income is to make some kind of revenue, but they sponsor it so that they can be the good guys and look good, helps people out. People get a place to go, no bureaucracy. And bureaucracy matters if someone is either an addict or if someone has a mental illness, they can't get through the bureaucracy. So gets rid of bureaucracy, puts more people into safe spaces, allows them to have private security. And these people are afraid of cops. So no cops, private security. And now they can do what they can to be seen as good people, which they want to be seen as, and they're helping people. It's their marketing budget. They market anyway. So instead of marketing and $10 million into I don't know, some campaign on CNN, put $10 million into a building, help some people. I'll tell you how awesome you are. Win-win. Everybody's happy, right? Not just that, big real estate. Right now I'm making tons of money, buying up all types of land. Okay. Have them instead create cheap housing that is rent to own. Do that. If you encourage them to build out cheap housing that's rent to own, so now you get people who are in trouble financially being able to pay their rent cheaply and start to own their property. Wow, not a bad idea. And when the big company sells it off, no capital gains tax. Now people who are on the left get, what? You're protecting the wealthy and they're not paying taxes. I don't care if they're paying taxes if they're supporting my working poor. Don't pay the tax. Just support the working poor. Give them some ownership in their own world. Gentrification doesn't affect them anymore because they're owners. If they leave, they get a check because they have equity. They can actually move someplace and have a cash in their hand. They can learn the ownership mindset. Don't pay tax at that point, but support my working poor. I'm in. So you can do that kind of thing, right? I'll go one step further. How do you support my felony population? And I've got a large felon population in New York State, and these states too. If you hire a felon, for the first 2 years you hired a felon, no payroll tax, no state payroll tax. If 50% or more of your population, your employment population is convicted felons, nobody pays payroll tax for 2 years, as long as it's a 2-year rotation for the people who are felons. Now, people say, Larry, if you do that, they'll just fire felons every 2 years and keep hiring felons. Good. You're training my felon force. Well, they won't pay taxes. Good. You're training my felons. You're giving them a second chance at life. They're not committing crimes. I don't have them in jail paying $100,000 a year in jail anymore. And they're getting a resume and they can get jobs. Don't pay your taxes. I don't care, but support my working poor and support my felon population. Why do I care if you're paying taxes at that point? I don't care. Do the right thing anyway. You do that, you will find different ways of people voluntarily supporting people who need to be supported. Most people don't know this. My father was a guard at Rikers Island, and my mother was a felon. She was an addict. So I know what it's like to have an addict in your life. I know what it's like to support, law enforcement. And I'm trying to keep everybody happy to make sure we have a system that actually works. So I hope that was clear. So yes. Robert says, are the stamps for sale yet? No, no, not at all. We won't have the stamps for about another 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's taking time to get them. We'll have them in the middle of October. I know it's tough, but we just came up with this plan, and they're all specially made, so it will take time. For those of you who want to help us out, you can donate, though, to make sure we get more stamps. LarrySharpe.com/donate. Absolutely. Yes. Chris says, but wouldn't you be forcing college to do something, the year free college, when it may be better to just drop the government loans and let it evolve? Yes, I am forcing. It's true. However, the reason why I'm forcing, Chris, is because they took advantage of the federal government for decades. They took advantage of you and your friends for decades. This is punishment. This is retribution. This is what they did. I mean, think about this. How many people do you know? I don't know about you, but myself, oh my God, who know people who have master's degrees and they're baristas. They've been lied to and cheated for decades, and the colleges made money and have had no recourse whatsoever. Yes, it's true. Again, I'm not initiating force. This is me responding. So, yes, guilty as charged, Chris, but I think it's the right answer. But yes, guilty as charged. Yes. Josh says, love your commitment, Larry. We need to call you. Thank you. I appreciate it. We keep going, my friend. We got to keep going. We just have to keep going. Absolutely. So, all righty. Let's see here. Andrew says, Larry, as a conservative, I'm supporting your argument to get on the debate stage about access. Thank you. Lee Zeldin needs to get his ass handed to him, and I hope you win the lawsuit. Thank you, my friend. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. For Zeldin to actually win this thing, he would have to get all of the Republicans to get out from under their blankets of feel like the world's ending, to show up and vote, and get about a third of Democrats to vote for him. You think Lee Zeldin's going to do that? He is openly a Trump supporter. This is New York State. New York State hates Trump. I mean, New York State Republicans like Trump, but New York State is mostly a Democratic state. It's 3-1 Democrat Republican. In New York City, it's 6-1 Democrats Republican. Democrats hate Trump. They're not going to vote for Zeldin. And the January 6th stuff's coming. January 6th only got postponed because of this storm. Watch next week when they bring out the January 6th stuff. They're going to throw Zeldin on the bus there too. They're going to say, oh, he's a election denier and blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's crazy. So, all right. You should bet all these Republicans $1,000 they'll won't win to fund your campaign. That's actually brilliant, Phil. You know what? I should do that. You're right. I should put a list. Who wants to bet me? I'll make a killing. That's actually brilliant. I may do that, Phil. I don't know is that legal? I don't know. Who cares? I'll make enough money I can pay my legal fees. So I guess it won't even matter. So yes, absolutely. Joseph, why do you only go to Central and Western New York for events? I don't. I go all over. I go to every single county. I just go in. I go in order, right? I'm physically driving to these places. I am obviously short on cash because I don't raise the millions of dollars that the other people raise. I raise hundreds of thousands instead. I wish I raised millions. It'd be awesome. So I can't fly around or rent a bunch of cars or get a bunch of drivers or buy a bus. I don't have the kind of cash to do that. So I do this heavily on a shoestring. So either I rent a car, use a supporter's car. They drive me sometimes, or I'll use my own car or wherever. I'll get a driver to help me out. We'll shuttle people back and forth. We'll do what we have to do to get around. So I have to go in an area where I can physically drive to get to certain places. I also want to make sure I'm doing it at the right time, right? I don't want to do like middle of the day, middle of the week, 3 p.m. Who can show up there? So I'm trying to do places when where people can be available. So yes, but the weekend after, I'm doing a Bronx event and a Suffolk County event also. So I do downstate also. Westchester's coming up here. I do downstate too, but I try to I talk the talk, Joseph, about how each county matters and localism matters. If I'm going to talk the talk, I have to walk the walk, which means I have to support every single county. And those of you who don't know, I go to all 62 counties every single year. For the past 5 years, I have visited every single New York State county. I do it every year. I know what New Yorkers thinking because I sit and talk to them in diners, in vape shops, in pool halls, in breweries and wineries. I sit and talk to them. So yeah, I do know. Absolutely. So, all right. So if I can grab a couple more of these. Daniel says, I'm going to be homeless in November. Can't wait to ride in Larry Sharpe. I hope you're not going to be homeless, my friend. I hope not. So yes. Tamara says, I got Larry Sharpe bumper stickers for all 3 of my cars. Oh, Tamara, you're the best. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Harold says, Larry Sharpe, can we please get graphic artwork font wording for those of us who are going to make our own rubber stamps? I thought we had that. You know what? Thank you, Harold, for that. I appreciate that. I am going to check that out. I'm going to check. Thank you. I thought we had that. I'm going to do that. Yes. Thank you. I will check that. 100%. All righty. Shelly says, can we petition to audit the Board of Elections? Yes, but it won't do anything, Shelly. But you could. You could. But I don't think it will do anything. So, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Juan says, Larry, how can Lee Zeldin win the governorship when he got 13,000 less in interest than you? He even had more money than your campaign and came up short. It's true. Because how this system works is Pepsi and Coke decide what soda goes in the grocery stores. That's why, Juan. Pepsi and Coke decide what sodas go in the grocery store. And judges in New York State think that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how embarrassing our judges are. That's the reason. So yes. See here if I can go down here. Shelly says, my rear tire blew up at 5 a.m., leaving my neighbors thinking a gun went off. We don't have potholes in Albany. We have moguls. Oh, the second you hit Albany, it's killing my bike and back. Yeah. Yeah, the issue, I agree. Potholes matter in the areas where people can't afford to deal. If you're wealthy and your car breaks down, you take it to the dealer and get a new car because you're wealthy, right? You swap out the car. You're wealthy. You have good insurance, whatever. You're not wealthy. It's going to affect you, right? And if you're an entrepreneur or you work like that, you know what happens? People just decide, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to go to work today because I'm wealthy. I'll go to work tomorrow. I'll work from home. What happens if you got to go to a physical job and work someplace? Well, you don't have a car. You can't make it. That's my whole point, right? The idea of potholes may seem simple, but when you're in a world where your car matters and your job matters, it's not so simple anymore. You're right. So Patty says, President Sharpe does sound good. Sharpe's a cool name. E stands for electable. Absolutely. Christine says, when you run for prez, I'll work on your campaign. Thank you. Maybe one day we will. It's possible. Maybe one day. Absolutely. Paul says, this country would be a totally different place in a good way had Goldwater, Gary Johnson, or anyone named Dr. Paul had been POTUS. Agreed on all counts. Agreed. Yes. Absolutely. Totally agreed. Yes. Dustin says, we need separation of nation and state like we need separation. What? We need separation of nation and state like we need separation of church and state. People should be able to subject themselves to government like they do a religion voluntarily or not at all. Huh. I like the idea, Justin. However, I don't think America's anywhere near ready for that. If you notice, most people, Republican and Democrat, they're going the opposite. They are looking for more and more federal and localized control. For something like that to happen, we really have to change the culture of America to where people think differently. Right now, that idea is so unimaginable to most Americans. I can't see it really existing. It would just the backlash would be horrible. That would be my worry. Horrible backlash. So yeah, but I get the concept. I do. Yes. All right. Josh says, can U.S. drones drop off food and water to starving Africans, or are they just surveillance and killing machines? Yeah, Josh, maybe that's the answer. Maybe they stop doing killing machine drones. They do water delivery drones or food delivery. I love the idea. Absolutely. See, you're thinking. I love that. 100%. What a great idea. I love that idea. 100%. Yes. That's very good. I love that. Look, if you like these ideas, I hope you do. And then do me a favor, like, comment, and share. Share with other people. I appreciate it. If you want to help me out directly, you can donate if you want to. I love that. Every bit counts. If you want to support me without having to drop any cash, spread the world's smallest political quiz. That will always help me. That is our sponsor of the show. So I want to keep them happy. It does matter. It gets people talking. Please go ahead and do that. That would help tremendously. And of course, liking and commenting, sharing will always help, no matter what you think is appropriate. We would love to make that happen. So yes. All right. Let's see here if I can go here. Nate says 130,000 votes changes New York, the US, and the world. It does. You are right. You are right. Absolutely. Yes. So, all righty. Jeff says, what are you going to say if you are able to get in the debate stage with your fellow candidates and the issue of gun control comes up? I know you're in favor of people getting and owning firearms. This is not a popular opinion, and your views would tank your popularity, even if you're crushing it elsewhere in the debates. Jeff, I disagree. I think when I talk about firearms and gun control, what I talk about always is as an equalizer, right? I want people to be able to defend themselves to the best of their ability. Absolutely. I don't think so at all. I've said it more than once. 25% of people who support me are Democrats, and they all know that, they all know that I support, the Second Amendment. So I think it already has happened, right? And the reality of it is Democrats that are hardcore anti-gun aren't going to fully Zeldin either, right? They aren't either. But here's the other part. There are over 4 million gun owners in New York State. If they supported me, I win the election. So I think your point is it's a concern, but no, I don't speak about the Second Amendment in a constitutional way, which makes some people on the right unhappy. I speak about it in a way of equalizing, a way of allowing counties to be counties, right? If certain counties like Brooklyn wants to have heavier gun control, I'm okay with that. If they want to have heavier gun control, just stop making every other county be so bad and stop arresting people who have legally owned firearms. So I think we can easily find an answer there. I hope that answers your question at least. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for the time you gave me this evening. I appreciate it. I will be out. Please check out my Facebook page if you're catching my events. 7 events this weekend, all over. So tomorrow I'm in Allegheny County, Cayuga County tomorrow. Then I'm in a bunch of other counties, Orleans, Ontario County. I am all over New York yet again. I will see you all very soon.